The most frustrating thing for me when I found out about the affair was how quickly it seemed my husband wanted to put the blame on me. And in my case, it was that we weren't having sex enough. I was too preoccupied with my job. I wasn't paying him enough attention. I mean, and I didn't like to hike. It was this bizarre list of things that he has never had a conversation with me about. And suddenly I'm sitting in this counselor's office going, wait, what? Wait, you know? And have you wondered that? Did you experience that as well? The whole, well, I wouldn't have had to step outside the marriage if you hadn't have, or if you would have done more of this, then this would have happened. Why the blame? Why is the victim blamed in this situation? We're going to unpack that a little bit, so stay tuned. Yes, the blame game is tough, and it's almost like adding a layer of hurt on top of what we're already experiencing through the trauma of finding out about the affair. Then suddenly we're thrown into this, could I have stopped this from happening? Well, maybe had I been a better wife, and then we start blaming ourselves, and that just piles on to what we're already feeling, and it is terrible. There are reasons behind the blame, and I think when we understand that and are able to separate ourselves out from these reasons and realize it is not our fault, okay, then we're able to remove that self-guilt, that self-shame that we put on ourselves, because when we start taking on that burden, it's inappropriate. Because let me tell you, it does not matter how horrible your marriage was prior to the affair. There are 100 healthy ways to address that as a couple. You could go to counseling. You could work with a coach. You could do so many things to repair things that aren't working within the relationship, instead of going outside of the marriage to try to fix it. And of course, I'm outside and there's bugs everywhere. But this is pretty, right? I'm in Edisto Island filming this, and I just thought this was a pretty location. So, except for the bugs who are really loud. Hopefully y'all can't hear that on the mic too much. But when you have this situation where you're feeling like you've got the blame put upon you, right? Let's look at why they do that. And I'm going to start with basic humanity, just human nature in itself. We do this all the time. We naturally don't want to take responsibility for our actions. It's just innate in us, because then if we have to take responsibility for the actions, we have to carry the guilt. We end up carrying shame. We end up feeling bad, and we don't want to feel bad. We don't want to carry guilt. We don't want to feel shame. So we redirect to somebody else or something else. And I'm going to give you just kind of a generic example. Let's say you're at work one day and you and a coworker who typically don't get along anyway have this argument before you're leaving. You're supposed to work on this project together and they're not carrying their weight, and you get in this argument. And you leave work and you're just fuming. You're just like, oh my gosh, again, I'm going to be late with this project because so-and-so didn't do their part. And you're not paying attention and you're speeding and you get pulled over by a cop and you get a ticket. Here's what human nature does. You get the ticket and your anger level just skyrockets. So instead of realizing that maybe you should have been paying closer attention to your own speed, instead you start going, oh great, now so-and-so has caused me to get a ticket. Can this day get any worse? So-and-so sucks. I mean, suddenly this person who has absolutely no control over your driving habits is responsible for what just happened. So we do this subconsciously all the time. We don't want to take responsibility. It's somebody else's fault, or something happens at home and you drop and break something and they're like, oh gosh, well, you distracted me. Why were you talking to me when I was trying to do this really important thing? All the time we do this. So underneath this blame situation is a natural tendency to do this as human beings. It's not right. We need to learn how to own our junk. We really do as a human race. We need to step back and realize people don't control our actions. It's not so-and-so's fault over there that I'm having a bad day. It's my decision whether I want to have a good or bad day. I'm in control of that, not them. They don't have that power over me. Nobody else can make me happy or sad. Nobody else can determine how fast I drive a car. It's my responsibility. So number one, we need to really just get that on the table. Human nature does this. It doesn't belong solely to people who have affairs. This is just kind of what they do. But there's a scientific, really it's a psychological thing I want to discuss, and it's called cognitive dissonance. And what this is basically when we rationalize doing something bad. Like, we're good people. We're inherently good people. And I believe with all my heart my husband's a good man. He's a good man. He made a really bad decision, but he's a good man. So when we, as naturally good people, inherently good people, make a conscious decision to do something that we know is not a good thing, something in us has to rationalize it. We have to come to some kind of agreement that this is okay somehow, even though we know it's bad. And it's a reconciliation process. We're reconciling the good and the bad. And the way we tend to do that is to make it okay because. And in the case of an affair, it's okay that I'm doing this because my needs are not getting met. Or it's okay I'm doing this because, I have physical desires that my spouse can't or won't give me. Or it's okay that I'm doing that because I'm so unhappy. It's okay I'm doing that because that way I can just do this on the side. My wife will never know about it, and then I can just come back and be really present for her and the kids. If I can just get this done, then I'll be this. So it's this reconciliation process. An example would be like when someone smokes cigarettes. Now, I'm not poo-pooing smoking cigarettes, so if you smoke, I'm not putting you down. But the reality is we'd have to be living under a rock to not know what cigarettes can do to one's body. We know it's not good for your body. It's not good for your health. We know this. Okay? We all are aware of the fact that smoking is not good. But so many people smoke. But they rationalize it, right? They sit there and go, well, Grandpa smoked his whole life. And he lived to be 98, and, I don't have any health issues, so it's probably going to be me too, so it's probably okay. Or they'll say, this is really the only thing that can calm my nerves. I hear that a lot. And I mean, look, you do you. This is your body, your choice. So if you smoke, but I'm sure that some type of rationalization has to go. Same thing if we're overeaters, right? If we're people who tend to binge eat. I've had a really bad day and I'm going to just eat that whole carton of ice cream and I'll work out extra hard tomorrow to work it off. Or I deserve this. I've been really good. I've lost 5 pounds. I deserve a treat. We do this all the time. It's this process of knowing something's not good, but we do it anyway. And the only way we're okay with it and we can live with our action is because we rationalize it. That's cognitive dissonance, and we're all capable of it. Okay, our husbands are not unique. They're not horrible people. They were just utilizing something we all do, but they were doing it in the case of an affair. So now that we kind of understand why the blame, let me tell you what this does not mean. Okay, just because your spouse tried to blame you for the affair does not mean he will always believe you're the cause of the affair. What I found in my situation was once he was removed from it, he started to realize how he had created this vision of this bad marriage in his head. Our marriage was not bad. Yeah, there were things we needed to work on, but it was not a bad marriage. He made things worse than they were in his mind to justify what he was doing. I became the problem instead of his choice being the problem. So most of the time, if our husbands do the work and they really pull themselves out of the limerence and they really start realizing their choices and why they made them, they come to that conclusion and understand that that choice was theirs and theirs alone. No one put a gun to his head and made him do that. No one threatened him or forced him. He made that choice completely separate from me and outside of our marriage. So understand what the blaming is on their end, and please understand what it is not. Do not take that blame on yourself. There's absolutely nothing we could have done differently. People who have really awesome marriages, who are perfectly happy with their sex life and everything else, still have affairs, okay? It doesn't speak to who we are as wives. It doesn't speak to how good we are as a wife. It doesn't speak to how pretty we are, how thin we are, how great we are at sex, how much attention we pay to her. It doesn't speak to any of that. It's about them. They made that connection. They're the ones who experience this cognitive dissonance. They're the ones who had to reconcile their actions to who they are as a person. So I hope this has helped put this into perspective a little bit and help us understand that it's not us. We didn't cause this to happen. We didn't force this to happen. They made this choice, but they went through a psychological process to be okay with it. It's not that they're bad or evil people. They really are not. And men are awesome at compartmentalizing, okay? So I know we ask the question all the time, how could they go out and do that and come home and be with us? Because they've compartmentalized it. They put the affair in a box and they've tucked it over here. So when they're at home, the home box is open, the wife box is open. But when they're with the affair partner, the home and wife box is closed and they're open. My husband said they rarely talked about their families. Okay, when they were together, they didn't talk about their families. So they're able to do things like this to reconcile their actions. So keep that in mind next time you intend to blame yourself or let that blame fall upon you. I promise you, you are not to blame. Okay, the wind's kicking up and I'm so afraid my tripod's going to fall over, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'm going to try to put more of these helpful videos on for you. If you have suggestions for me, put them in the comments below and I'll try to address your concern as you're going through affair recovery. And don't forget to grab the free things I have listed below this video, okay? They're meant for you to try to help you through this time. And I am a coach. I'd love a chance to work with you if you're looking for a coach. Make sure you go to the video I have listed first below, and that video will show you how to get in touch with me, okay? All right, have a great one, guys. And remember, this is not your fault. I cannot say that enough. The affair is not your fault, okay? Promise me you'll walk away understanding that. All right, take care.